All right, today we're going to do our first requested lesson, and the requested lesson was how to do a keypad combination, and I went ahead and tied it up to a door, but you could pretty much tie this to anything you want. It could open something, close something, turn on a light, whatever you want. So let's take a look at how it functions, and then this video is going to be in two parts because there's a lot to this. Even though there's not a lot of pieces, there's a lot to making it work. So I'm here at work, the internet is down, so I cobbled this together, and this may not be the way Valve did it, but I feel like it's a pretty clever way to do it. I only used 4 entities to do it, other than the buttons themselves, but I used 4 entities, and it's a fully programmable combination lock. So let's take a look at what it looks like in game. We're going to set everything up in the first one, and then we're going to program everything in the second video. Alright, so here's the map. I'm going to go ahead and reload it. So I'm in a hallway. There's a door here at the end, just a wall that needs to open, and there's a keypad right here. So there's buttons over every single one of these little things right here, and they require me to press E. They have a sound effect on them. So after pressing 4 buttons, if the code is wrong, it's going to flash the word error, and there's a little red light that blinks over here. If I get the combination right, I get the access and the door opens, and then I have the door toggled to shut after 5 seconds, just for demonstration here. So I can come through here, okay. Now notice the combination is 1 4 2 3. So 1 4 2 3. Now the numbers have to be put in, not only the correct numbers, but they have to be put in the right order. And then all the rest of these buttons, they don't work, but if I do 1 4 2 3, opens. I can even press the same button multiple times. There is a delay on the button, you can hear that. Alright, so in this lesson we're going to set everything up, and then in the next lesson we're going to go through and program the whole thing, because it's actually quite a bit, surprisingly a lot for just the 4 little entities that are involved. So we're going to go ahead and set this up first. So what I want you to do today is set up and put in all the entities and name all the entities. So I'm going to show you the names for all the entities, but don't worry about setting anything else. The next lesson we do on this is going to program it. And the reason I say that is because, oops, let me get over here. All the magic is happening on this new entity right here, but the number of outputs on it is pretty intense. So I'm going to have a second lesson that covers how all of these things work together. So let's make all the pieces, and then tomorrow's lesson will cover how to program all the pieces. So what I would like you to make for this is some kind of a hallway or an area in your map where we can put a door. So we're going to go ahead and put just a regular func door. That's what this is right here. So kind of a refresher. Remember, it's just a block. So I just take my block tool, draw out the shape that I want the door to be, and then I will press enter, which creates the block. And then once I've done that, I right click on it, tie to entity, make it into a func door, click apply, and then we'll go ahead and name it. So this is my func door. I called it keypad door. I gave it a lip of 4, so this means when it opens it sticks out about 4 inches. And in the move direction, if you don't remember how to set that, when we look at these func doors from the top view, they move in the relative direction to this little black compass right here. So whatever direction this arrow, this little white line here is pointing, that's the direction the door is going to open. So if I leave this like this door is going to open in this direction. If I move this way, the door is going to move kind of diagonally down this way. Now, I can also set it to up or down. So for my example, I went ahead and set it to down. Under flags, we're going to say toggle if you want, but everything else is going to be disconnected because we don't want the player to be able to open this. The door is going to be controlled by the keypad. Alright, so we've got a door. Alright, don't worry about the lights. I just did those when I was troubleshooting it, so don't worry about the lights. Let's look at the entities here. Alright, so these are all from your entity tool. This tool right here, your entity tool. You're going to come over here, type in logic branch. That's this one. If you were in the class last year and you remember Unreal blueprinting at all, the branch node is basically an if statement. It's a binary statement. It's true or false. And you can kind of tell by looking at the entity here that it's true or false. It's going to take, you can set it to 1 or 0. So 1 is going to be true, 0 is going to be false. So it's a branch. It's an if statement. If you've done any programming, this branch is basically an if statement. Logic compare, so same thing. You're going to go to your entity tool, come over here, logic compare. So logic compare is going to allow us to take two numbers, compare them, and it can tell us if they're equal, greater than, less than, or not equal. So we've got a few options on it, but this is how we're going to check our combination. We're going to use the logic compare. Then we have two math counters. So we're going to go to our entity, come over here, math counter. We're going to drop in two math counters. So one of them is going to count how many buttons the player has pressed. The other one is actually going to count how many correct digits you got from the password or whatever, the code. And remember, they have to be in the right sequence. So as you punch in the numbers, one of these is going to count every button press, 1, 2, 3, 4. The other one is going to count every single time you get a number right. So if you type 1, 4, 2, 3, which is the combination I put in, both of these will count to 4. If you were to type in 9, 7, 3, 1, this would count to 4 because you pressed 4 buttons. This one would count to 0 because you didn't get them in the right order. They have to be the right combination in the right order. So this one is going to count how many times you press the buttons, 1, 2, 3, 4. This one is going to count how many times you press the correct buttons in the correct sequence. So both of these have to get to 4 in order to trigger this to be true, which is going to allow the door to open. And then if you get it wrong, this thing is going to be false, and it's going to set the whole thing into the error code, and it's going to reset everything so we can do it again. All right? So for today, I just want you to drop in these 4 entities: a logic branch, logic compare, and 2 math counters. All right? Now, the next part of this is going to be the keypad. All right? So this is just a dynamic prop. So you're going to go to your entity tool, type in prop dynamic override. You're going to go to the world model here, click browse, and if you type in keypad, you'll find this little tiny keypad. Go ahead and place it wherever you want on the map. I named it keypad model, and that's really all we have to do to it. There's not anything else that this thing needs. It's just there to look pretty on the map. All right. Now, these are the actual buttons. So if you remember, we use the no draw blocks for buttons on a lot of things. When we want to pick things up or as buttons, we will put a no draw box over an object to simulate a button. So these are little tiny 1x1 blocks. So they're as small as you can possibly get. So we're going to use our block tool. We're going to come in here and make a 1x1 block. And then we're going to select browse, no draw, and then press enter. And that's going to create this little tiny yellow, you might see a few of the letters of no draw on it, but this is a little tiny invisible block. It's the smallest block we can possibly make. Okay? What I want you to do with that is right click on it, tie to entity. We're going to make it a func button, click apply, and then we're going to name it. So this is going to be, keypad button 1, whatever you want to name it. So, I might call this key 1. Click apply. Sounds. I used a sound called small dupe. That's the little beep that you hear when I press the button. I like having a sound on it because it lets me know that the button interacted with me. And you could hear when I press the same button over and over, you could hear the beep and then that sort of negative response, the kind of buzz when the button's not working, because there is a delay on the button every time you press it. Even if you set it to 0, there is still a small delay on the button. So the beep sound lets you know that you're interacting with the button. So I went ahead and put a sound on it. The delay before reset, we're going to put to 0. Under flags, we're going to say don't move and use activates. Okay, that's it. Click apply. And then you're going to take this button and you're going to copy it 9 times. So, or 8 times, I guess. So you're going to hold down shift, click, drag, release the mouse, and we're going to create our 9 buttons for the keypad. Okay, so you're just going to create all these buttons. Now make sure you go back through and you rename it. Key 1, key 2, key 3, key 4. The buttons all have to have unique names on them. Alright? So we're going to go through and rename every single one of these buttons to their corresponding location on the keypad. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now, once you get all 9 of your buttons, we need to get them into position. Now, if we look at the keypad here, let me drag this guy over here. So you can see in the model here in the wireframe that these buttons don't really line up with the grid. So if I try to place this button, you can see the button is right here, the middle button. But I can't get this into that position. It's either on one side or the other. This one works pretty good. But when I get to these ones, I'm having a little bit more trouble. So the trick to this is if you hold down your Alt button, ALT, hold it, it allows you to move this object off grid. So what I'm going to do is I can drag these things, and you can see it moving in my 3D view, or in my camera view over here. You can see me moving this. And you can see I'm able to put it in exactly the spot of each of the buttons. Okay? So you're going to take your 9 buttons, you're going to hold down Alt, and you're going to drag them into position so they're about halfway over the actual button of the model. You can kind of see mine are about halfway here. Okay, so you're going to end up with 9 buttons that are sitting on top of the 9 keypad buttons, and you can see that I've named them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Alright, so your assignment today is to get all of these entities put in. We've got these 4 logic entities here, 2 math, 2 logic, 9 buttons, a model, and a door. Okay, and just a generic corridor is fine. So what we'll do tomorrow is we'll go through the settings for each one of those. Alright, so make sure you name your buttons, you've named your door, and then the 2 logics and the 2 math entities, we'll come back to those and name them. They have the whole trick to this is just a whole bunch of input and output. It's surprisingly simple. I know some people use logic cases and stuff like that, but I think the way I did it is actually kind of interesting because it uses the logic compare to anticipate what the next button is supposed to be, and so you don't have to have a big chart where it's checking. So you'll see tomorrow. It's pretty simple in how it works, and really the trick on this guy here is this button is in charge of resetting, or not this button, but this entity. What it mainly does is once you've pressed all the buttons, it's in charge of resetting the whole thing. So if you get it right, it puts everything back and opens the door. If you get it wrong, it just resets the whole combination, and it obviously doesn't open the door. But that's really the trick to the whole thing. It just, you press 4 buttons, these 2 guys count it. If you get the correct combination, this guy lets this guy know, and then this guy takes care of the door and then resets everything else back to the beginning. If you get the wrong combination, this guy will let him know, and then this guy will reset everything on the whole map, and it just resets the whole thing, so you can keep trying over and over. So if we go back to this thing, if I reload it, I come over here, 1, 4, 2, 3, there's the door. After a couple seconds it's going to close, so now I can just key in whatever I want. There's the error code, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4 buttons, gives me an error. 1, 2, 3, 4, those were the right buttons. Now watch, if I do the combination is 1, 4, 2, 3. If I do it in the wrong order, right numbers, wrong order, 2, 3, 4, 1. 4, 1, 2, 3. Those are the right buttons, but they have to be in the right order. 1, 4, 2, 3. All right, so we'll program this up tomorrow. Give me a screenshot of all your entities and everything set up, and then tomorrow we'll go through all the programming of this.